both to remind everyone, we're physically here, but we're also online via Hopin, streaming online. And I think that was the delay here because we're on the Hopin platform as well right now. My name is Tom Barnhart, and I'm going to moderate this panel today. A couple of caveats. This is a session about Estonia. I actually have an Estonian company, so I'm actually curious to hear some of your opinions as well. But instead of me introducing each of you one by one, Artur and Sergey and Daga, how about each of you guys do that first, and then I'll start back with you, Sergey, to talk a bit about the e-residency program. But Artur, let's go first. There's a very quick intro first.
All right, thanks a lot. Hello, guys. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Artur Kuchmovsky, and I'm senior partner at Thompson & Stein. And we're a law firm with offices in Warsaw and Tallinn, so we are responsible for a big part of the movement, of the financial movement and capital movement between those two countries. And I'm also the member of the management board of the Polish-Estonian Chamber of Commerce. So as a NGOs, as a non-governmental organization, we do have also a couple interesting stories to share.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Sergey. I work for the e-Residency Estonia, which is a governmental organization. I'm a business development coordinator, so especially for Poland, so that's a big reason why I'm here. And I think throughout the speech, I'll tell more about it.
Hi, everybody. My name is Daag Ainso, and I am a general partner at Startup Wise Guys. Startup Wise Guys is the leading international B2B accelerator fund in the region. We are now currently having programs in Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Turkey, Italy, Denmark, Spain, and starting in Romania this year. We started in 2012. We have done over 290 investments so far, and mostly we're investing in the region. We like to say this like overlooked markets, mostly like Central Eastern Europe, but also like Italy, Spain. These are like actually overlooked markets in the general terms of venture, and we like to invest usually in the very early stages, technical founders who have big ambitions, and we see that they really have something, and we would like to support them throughout the journey. Also doing follow-on investments in the later stages.
Okay. All right, so this session is about why Estonian startups are scaling faster or that fast, and it's about a combination of the structural issues with the Estonia, structural advantages that the Estonian corporate structure has, tax structure has, but also about, and I think this is perhaps even more interesting, is there an advantage, therefore, with that structure to actually attract faster, get faster access to capital, bigger access to capital, and therefore grow indeed faster. But before we get on that subject, which is going to be an interesting subject, let's talk a bit about the e-residency program. If you just introduce it, Sergey, how does it work? What is it about? Tell us how digital is Estonia, but please intro the subject.
I'll probably maybe start a little bit from earlier in the time. The reason why we are here, I guess, is, I don't know if you're aware, but Estonia just recently had its 10th unicorn on the population of 1.3 million, which puts us on a top in the list of the amount of unicorns per capita. And if you think that 30 years ago Estonia was completely with a broken economy, and streets were full of gangs and corruption, then 30 years later we were able to lead the pack, the worldwide pack of startup movement. So we thought it's going to be a good case study or a good opportunity to discuss and build a conversation around it. So we're thankful about this opportunity. But the reason I'm here as a representative of the e-residency is we would definitely want to take some part of this conversation to talk about how how you can benefit from it if you're an entrepreneur of, from any other country than Estonia. And the key to our jurisdiction or to all of the benefits that Estonia has to offer is the e-residency program. And hopefully throughout the conversation we can discuss a bit more about it and through some good practical examples as well, because I know those gentlemen have some good stories here that they took with them.
Yeah, so I think I can just add that we have, as I mentioned already, that we have invested in over 290 companies, and we are headquartered in Estonia, but not all those investments are not from Estonia. So many of them are, for example, from Ukraine, from Turkey, the jurisdictions that are usually not investable, and those people want to set up companies in the European Union, but also like the other European startups, they actually usually establish companies in Estonia, and we help them actually in the process. We have all the structures in place to do it, and it's a very easy process. It's actually setting up a company takes like 15 minutes actually. So of course, like preparing all the agreements, if you're getting investment, takes a bit more time, but actually the process is very easy. If you have the e-residency set up, if you have an e-residency card, you can actually do it online yourself, not even being in Estonia. And that's a big advantage actually. And you can later manage the company also online. You don't have to like come physically to Estonia or anything. So if you have it set up already, and also you can set up a bank account actually in TransferWise or Wise, which means it usually takes also like 1 day, and then you are actually up and running. So there are big advantages in that, and also the jurisdiction is quite actually well supported by the VC community as well. So we see international VCs investing in Estonian company. Sequoia recently invested in Bolt, which is Estonian company. So we see like a lot of bigger international VCs also like supporting actually the jurisdiction.
Please,
Yeah, just one word. If you look at the e-residency and the program itself, then you realize that what is e-residency? Is only a digital signature. But the difference is that this is a digital signature which in fact works. And that's a huge difference in between the similar solutions which you currently have in Estonia. It was adopted in 2016. E-residency was 2014. And right now, the countries like Lithuania, like Latvia, like Portugal, they want to run the same program. I mean, they would like to grant the possibility to sign digital the documents and to give the access to their administration to the foreigners from all over the world. And this is that's very good that we started from that, because, guys, at the moment, if we look at Poland, try to get the digital signature for a foreigner without his personal identification number, without Polish peso. This is nightmare. I mean, it's doable, but it takes roughly around 3 weeks if we would like to do it remotely. If you want to do the same in Lithuania, it takes, 1 week, but you have to be twice in the country. So, and we're talking here about this solution which was adopted quite a long time ago. So e-residency was also one of the milestones, I believe, for the scaling up the economy and the ecosystem, because it is a tool, as you said, guys, also which you can use for company registration. But then it's as important for managing the company, for running the existing company, so for joining a company as a potential investor from all over the world.
So let me ask this: if you were a single operator, one person owner of an Estonian company, that must be, of course, easier than having 25 partners all over the world. How difficult is that? If one person sets up, in fact, I've done that, so that is pretty easy. But the question I have is if you've got 25 partners and they're all over the world, how difficult is that to get that done, execute that?
So yeah, if you are just a single like entrepreneur or solopreneur, right? We have actually service providers in Estonia who will just charge you like flat monthly fee, and they will provide you everything. You know, even accounting. You know, you don't have to do anything. You have the platform where you can send invoices, everything. You have like everything covered. But if you have like more shareholders, it's of course more complicated. But even in that case, now there are solutions for that as well. So,
I mean, do those guys have to be e-citizens as well if they're a partner in that project?
Well, and again, if we compare it between Poland and Estonia, we had here in Poland huge discussion about new kind of company where you can freely transfer the shares from one person to another without the need of visit at the notary and so on and so on. So this discussion was here for a couple years. And what happened in Estonia? There was just two new articles adopted that if your company has a share capital, has paid share capital in amount of 10,000 euros, and there is information articles of association that you can transfer the shares just in the normal written form, you can do it freely. So in this situation, we only demand the member of the management board to be e-resident or to have a digital signature. Your investors, your partners, they do not necessarily need to use that tool.
yeah, they can actually use like DocuSign or whatever, so which is available to anybody. So basically, if your share capital is over 10K, it's super easy actually. Before that, it was a problem because if you had 25 investors, means that everybody need to get e-residency, which actually was done as well. But now you actually don't even need that.
Okay. So we're going to come back to that in a little bit, but let's talk about taxes as well, because that's also a little bit of the advantage, perhaps, or the perceived advantage, is that is Estonia a tax-free environment? Is it not? What is the situation with corporate taxes? Because some might think that it is, but please go into details.
Yeah, corporate income tax is 0. So you don't have to pay taxes on your annual profits. But if you want to distribute the profits to the shareholder as dividends, then yes, you have to pay tax on the dividends. But it's I think it's 21%, so it's quite low.
It's flat 20. It's flat 20
yeah.
Because in Estonia you have very simple taxes. I mean, you have 20% of income tax, 20% of corporate tax, and 20% of the VAT. But then the corporate tax really exists. It's on the rate of 20%, but as he said, this is paid only at the moment of giving the dividend to the shareholders.
So if you leave that money, if you make $1 million, whatever, and you leave it there for 1, 2, 3 years, there's no tax due until you take it out. So it's a deferral,
Yes.
essentially a deferral.
Yeah, and you can invest this money to other companies or wherever, right? You don't have to pay any tax on it before you take it out.
If I may add, just to maybe a simplified explanation. So there is, you pay no taxes when the money comes into the company. You pay only taxes when the money comes out. So obviously when you pay salaries, then you pay taxes on it. And then if you want to distribute dividends, then you pay dividend tax. I mean, maybe let's just call it this way, then it's easy to understand. But other than that, there is no really any...
Yeah, and startups don't pay dividends, as we know, right?
And I mean, that's why the startups, that's why I know companies who easily go 5-10 years without paying any taxes.
But is it from your point as an investor, is it really important?
Dividends?
No, the difference in that if the company really pays those taxes or not, from your point of view as an investor.
As an investor point of view, of course, it's for us, it's also more beneficial if startup or the company needs to pay less taxes, right? It means more money to invest into the business.
It's a Warren Buffett thing, which is deferral of taxes. You know, he owes huge taxes, but he has for 30 years, the company, because it's all deferred. So that's to your point, that you can reinvest it without taking it out.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. It sounds great. What are any catches, any things that, or other issues that, that one should be aware of? And again, let's introduce other competition because you've got, you've got Ireland, you've got Amsterdam, you've got Holland, you've got Malta. Tell us a bit about some of the other jurisdictions and why you think it is more sensible Estonia than somewhere else.
I can maybe start with a catch, as you asked. You have to consider that Estonia is a super small market, right? So if you plan to start your company there, which is actually a catch that can be easily turned into the benefit, because I would say that it's a culture in Estonia. I mean, every other high schooler wants to have a startup basically, and does everything. Literally doing steps towards this direction. I ask a college kid, and he probably have tried already one startup. But those founders who try to start a startup in Estonia, they are forced to build their operations with a thought in their mind that it has to be scalable right away from day one, because there is no market in Estonia. So when they think about how we can build it, they think right away, okay, UK is my next market, the other one is the other, and then so on and so on. So if you look at the unicorns that we have, right at the moment where they realize that it's highly scalable model, then UK, US, and the only thing that's left is the name of the founder. That's Estonian name.
If it's not a scalable model, you don't get funded. So everybody's from day one thinking about how to go global, and everybody's asking that question like from the day one. And we have the good is that we have those examples, those role models. So actually, that's what's inspiring the new, as you're saying, like everybody who's finishing school or even in the school already, they want to do a startup. So it's because they see those success stories, and this is a vicious cycle, And I see this happening in other markets as well, and I'm sure it's going to happen in Poland the same way. So it just takes some years, and in Estonia it started like 20 years ago, right, or even more. And now we have like multiple generations of entrepreneurs starting companies and helping others and investing in new companies, and then it's at some point it's gonna go bigger and bigger, right?
I believe that the difference is that if you run your company in Poland and you reach a success here on the market, you might be a very wealthy person. But then, if you are doing the same in Estonia, because since it is a relatively small market, for you it might be only, let's say, a sandbox test market for your products, and then to scale it up worldwide. Because it's pointless I do not know anybody in Estonia who thinks Estonia as the destination.
Yeah, in Estonia, actually, the typical has been like, okay, we start in Estonia, it's a test bed, right? Then we go to Latvia, then Lithuania, and then to the very big market, Poland. So Polish is like, oh, this is a big market. But for us, it's like an international market, it's a big market. And if the startups can prove themselves in Poland, they actually can go to the other markets further, right? So but if you start in Poland, that you are actually more maybe like focused only on this market. You can actually earn quite a good money here, and that's good as well. I mean, not every company needs to become like international player. In Estonia, it's just inevitable because there is no point of doing business only for Estonia. It's just.
So let me jump back to the question of other jurisdictions and the structure. And if people are looking at other structure, other vehicles, and there's also the issue about tax. I mean, there's the EU-wide initiative to have a flat or global tax agreement. How does that affect Estonia, and is that an issue that you guys think about, worry about?
Well, at the moment, Estonia is the leading country, which is actually kind of against this global minimum tax. Why? Because I do believe that it's, and somehow I agree, and that this is pointless. And Estonian tax system is pro-business and business-friendly. And actually, if you look at the statistics, and when it was adopted, it cost really the state a lot of money. But then, after a couple years, and when the dividends are starting to be paid out from the companies, it is the Estonia at the moment gets as much corporate tax as Poland, and we have 9 or 19 or whatever, or if we use other shame, we pay that amount of the taxes and so on and so on. So I don't think that that Estonia should be worried about that. But from the other side, if you look at the Estonia as a country, and if you run the business in that country, there is one thing where you can be sure: the administration. The administration will treat you as a partner. Guys, you are Estonian, you do not feel it. But if you go to the country where you can easily talk with the with the administration, if you can easily talk with the people from the tax office, imagine that you send the email to the Ministry of Finance, let's say to the tax office, and to the email address contact at MFA-EE, which is Ministry of Finance, and they will reply you within 5 days. And after a couple of days, you receive the information that my name is that and that. This is my position. I will take care of your case. And what you got really truly fair response from them, and then they will keep it, and they do cooperate with you because they treated you equals. They treated you as a partner, and this is something what is missing, I believe, in many jurisdictions, which
Certainly,
you mentioned.
certainly in Poland, right? You would have that in Poland.
I didn't say that.
Yeah, I can say that. Yes.
See, a small joke. A couple of years ago, there was a national survey of where people got the best customer service in Estonia, and the tax authorities were voted number 1
Wow.
as the best customer service
Wow.
provided
Wow,
in the
incredible.
country.
So let's go beyond structure and tax issues. Let's say this administration is good. Let's talk about the subject, which is scale up faster. I mean, is there indeed, beyond the structural issues, the administrative issues, do you think that it's easier to raise capital simply because you have an Estonian-based entity, which on the face of it doesn't make sense to me, unless there's a tax structure? But why would you, just because you're based in Estonia, mean that you'll be able to access capital globally or better? Explain that, because you need to convince me of that. I'm not convinced of it.
I actually don't know if that's the case, actually. So I don't think that it's that you're registered in Estonia, that would like by default get you better capital access. So I think right now, like the most accepted jurisdictions for VCs are like Delaware or UK, right? So these are like the main ones. But Estonia is increasingly becoming the jurisdiction that investors, also the global investors, are happily investing in. And but it's not like something that, I mean, for the scale-ups, I think it's in Estonia, it's more like starting is very easy, and also like growing your company, and in many cases actually the investors coming in later, they want to see the companies flip to UK or Delaware or somewhere else, which is some cases happening as well. But now increasingly actually the investors don't require that anymore. But it's not like Estonia is that sense. But there is like more and more that, and also in the fund sides, there is like more funds registered in Estonia. Also have like multiple Polish partners who have registered their funds now in Estonia, because the legislation is very good, and also the ease of this administration side and communication, that's helping it a lot.
Any more thoughts about that, with that structure?
Well, but did you hear that we're coming always back to the administration and the business environment, and I believe that this is all about, and definitely Estonia is a place to start, and this is the place for early stage of growth companies, and the companies from Estonia are really expanding very fast worldwide, because they need to search additional solution. I mean, Estonia is a relatively small country, and you do not have as many tech engineers as you wish to have. You do not have as many people who might work for you at your back office. So it's natural that majority of the startups are searching worldwide for their employees, and it's natural, I believe, that if you got the employees from India or from any other country in the world, then you have your mentality of thinking globally.
May I add, since you touched that topic a bit as well, that's another catch maybe, as you asked. Like Estonia, yeah, it's a small market, but the second thing, we're very short on professionals, like, you know, IT people and so on. So there are ways, as you know, how we are trying to solve it. But one of the things that has been working really well for us is, if you are a startup, then you are qualified to bring professionals from all over the world with the startup visa. And I mean, it's like that simple. So that's a huge advantage if you have a team that's spread and then you want them to bring somewhere to Estonia, then it's totally doable with no issues.
Yeah, I would add to that startup visa is also meant for the founders who are coming, right? So it's basically you can come with the startup from anywhere in the world, and you can apply. And there is a startup visa committee who will go through your application. They will check the slide deck, if the business is valid, if the founders have like a good background. Basically, it's I'm actually part of that committee, so I know how it works. So there is like 7 people or representatives from different like VCs and organizations who are evaluating those ideas. So in a way, the startups are applying, and they are in a way like pitching to the investors that they have a solid startup that should get the visa from Estonia. And then after the committee has said yes, it's a startup, then it will go to the immigration, which will just check the background of those people, and then give them the visa. And then it's a 1 year. I think it's a 1 year visa then.
And of your companies, you said you have 270 or 290 companies in your portfolio. How many of those are Estonia-based from a registration perspective?
I think it's about 40%, I would say. I don't know the exact number, but around that, or even more. I think it could be like half.
Okay. All right. And Artur, back to Poland a little bit. I've lived in Poland a long time, lots of the bureaucracy in Poland. What are you seeing in terms of the acceptance among Polish companies to set up somewhere other than Poland? Is that becoming, fashion was the wrong word, is it becoming favorable, sensible? Do you see anything with this Polski Ład that changes that? Tell us a bit about that.
Well, I believe that our biggest problem is again the administration, and it's not only the current ruling party, but because it's happening since many years here in Poland, and the problem is that you living here, these guys are living in Estonia. They're residents of Estonia. They know exactly what kind of taxes they will pay this year. I will tell you more. They know exactly what kind of taxes, what amount, percentage of the taxes they will pay in the next year. Plus, they knew exactly, look at them, they look at me like they do not know what I'm talking even about. And here, what is the situation? So of course, this is another reason why the Polish startups are really searching for the jurisdiction to register itself. And of course, you have different reasons. is this in administration and the legal frames to run the company, the access to the capital, the possibility to onboarding the new investors, and especially if you are on the early stage, those money really counts. You do not spend them on lawyers. Rather, you will spend it on your product. And the another thing, of course, the taxes plus the image on the world. And yeah, I mean, we have examples of the seed rounds or pre-seed rounds of the Polish entities, which were actually registered in Estonia. Even what is interesting, with the branch in Poland. So in this case, in this one case, it was possible for the Estonian entity registered with a branch in Poland, was possible to have a Polish VC founded by PFR to have as one of the investors. So yeah.
We have actually tens of cases like that. Yeah. So that actually have got investment from Polish VCs. But they usually, and the company headquarters has stayed in Estonia, but they have established a branch or the subsidiary here in Poland. And also they have the option to convert the equity into the parent company in case of the exit. So this actually works quite well.
Okay, since we're in Poland, let's say it's a situation where I had, 100 employees on a Mowa Praca, the proper Polish employment contract. Is it possible to have that within the Estonia structure with a branch here, or is that simply not possible?
I mean, the branch is treated as a local company, so it doesn't bring you any differences.
Okay. All right. Tell us a bit about the companies in your portfolio, Dag, that have grown up, and you touched on the fact that some of them have been asked to move jurisdiction to Delaware, somewhere else. Tell us a bit more about that. And that's changing. Estonia is being more accepted as a final destination. Tell us a bit more about that, if you would. Flesh that out some more.
Yeah, I think we have seen this change in the past years, and I think it's just like based on the examples that I brought. Like for example, Bolt is a good example who has actually not moved the jurisdiction. If you look at the other unicorns like TransferWise, right? They were established in London, in UK. So it's in the recent years, like founders actually want to keep their companies in Estonia, and we have many actually examples of those. So I see this as a trend for sure, and but I don't see a problem even if you change the jurisdiction in some point. I mean, there can be many reasons for that. So as long as you have like business still in Estonia, it's good for Estonian economy as well. And of course, we have like many companies that actually don't have any operations in Estonia but have the legal entity in Estonia, right? So this is actually majority, like all the like companies, let's say like from Ukraine or Turkey, so they usually don't have any operations in Estonia. So they just have their legal entity there. They manage the headquarters from there, but actually their development team is maybe in Turkey, right? But customers are all over the world.
And let's talk about how is Estonia, how digital is Estonia really. We talked about this morning, John Franco mentioned about the war and how that one should have a backup plan. What's a backup plan for Estonia? Let's say that you have an Estonian company, you've got a bank account there, you've got $1 million in the bank account, and all of a sudden something goes wrong. Am I to worry about that, or is it all in the cloud? I mean, tell us a bit about that.
Well, I truly believe that Estonia is the first country in the world which can function 100% remotely. I mean, if you are running your business in Estonia, you can just pack your desk and everything is in your laptop, in your mobile phone, and from this perspective, it's really easy to run the company. But the second thing, which is more important, is that you'll be backed with all the public administration services as well. Sergey, you know where the servers are located and and data.
You know the exact address.
I've been there.
Tell us that.
I've built that. No. But yeah, it's I think since 2017. What happened is we basically all the government data is located in the cloud, which is based in Luxembourg. So we call it Data Embassy. And it's actually treated like the Estonian embassy on some other jurisdiction. So it's completely our jurisdiction there, like e-jurisdiction, in the cloud. So what it means really, I mean, if we talk about the e-governance, so like this is a fun or a real fact that 99% of all the public services in Estonia are available online. You can't get married and you can't divorce, and that's the only thing. But everything else is online, which means...
And in English.
Oh, yeah, and it's, I mean, obviously, yeah, it's all...
That's not that obvious.
It's not obvious? No. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's all Estonian, and English is basically the second language in Estonia. But what it means is that all of the information is stored in databases. So it's not like the old way of a paper, and the paper is located somewhere in the building. That's not the case in Estonia. So that's why if something happens, I mean, the only thing we need to worry about is cyber attacks. But we've been good.
Cyber attacks are like happening every day, and recent months they have been super heavy. And but all the services are functioning. So it's I think this is a given, that you have cyber attacks basically happening, and so far it's been proven that we can actually stand against them. We'll see how. Hopefully it lasts.
You see how the Estonian people are talking about the cyber attacks on their country? Yeah, we're facing cyber attacks. Yeah, we're facing them every day. Yeah, we're handling them. Well, and that's the secret of the success of the country. And the same with, not sure if you heard, guys, about the X Road. This is the way how the public administration is built. This is how the data are decentralized. And actually, if you are using this system, it's supernatural. I mean, it's the user experience is on very high level, and for Estonians, for the people who are born there and who are living there from the childhood, it's supernatural that you're going to the one or even logging online somewhere and from one administration office, and then you have the data from the another one. So imagine that you're going to buy your property even online through the e-notary. So you're scheduling your meeting with the notary online, and then you don't need to provide them, for example, extract from the commercial register or your own information, whether if you are married or not. Why? Because the notary has access to everything, and then you can just connect it and has it in one place. And what is super cool about that is that these are your data. These are your private data as well. And you have whole access to the history. So you know exactly who went through your data. I mean, you know exactly that this person in that office were reviewing, for example, your company data. Or that person from that office was checking your marital status or your place of living. This is, that's the smooth difference. I mean, Malta is. I heard that Malta is ranked among one of the most advanced states. But come on, what for if you are not able to use it as a user, as a person who lives there? I mean, I give you a simple example. To transfer, we spoke about the transferring the ownership of the company in Estonia. Then, in one of the most advanced countries, I mean, as was stated, Malta, to do that, you need to have an opinion of your auditor. So it's not that simple anymore.
But yeah, the e-notary was actually. It was a project that was implemented during the COVID time actually, and that's actually the biggest new thing that we have, and this is like super convenient thing. You can be in like any part of the world and be in the notary appointment, and usually there is like I have like signed I have like an e-notary appointments basically few every month, and sometimes we're signing deals. There is like 10 people, you know, on the call, and they're like each on different side of the world, and each is signing the document, you know, like being like physical in the notary office, but actually being like in a different location.
And cost setting up and operating in Estonia versus, you mentioned Malta or UK or Ireland. Tell us a bit about that. And not just, of course, the original cost, but the legal costs, the lawyer costs. You're a lawyer, but tell us a bit about that, because that's often the hidden costs in some other jurisdictions.
Well, if you have a simple administration, if you have a simple tax system, if your law is simple, then how you can compare the costs? I mean, in Estonia, you won't find the newspapers like in Poland, Dziennik, Gazeta Prawna, with yellow pages. You will not find their articles explaining the details of the tax system. Why? Because you don't need it. I mean, so if you ask me about the costs are similar pretty much all over the world. If we spoke about the bookkeeping hourly fee or lawyer hourly fee, but then the scope of the work, the amount of the work which should be done, it's relatively lower, I believe. And the other costs which are related to the to running the company in Estonia or in other places. If you compare even to Poland, I mean, it's also lower, because those are the costs. I'll give you a simple example. You will need to provide to your bank somewhere in the world, or to your investor, corporate documents with the apostille. And to get it in Poland, then you have to go through the notary, from the notary to the court, which will certify the seal. From the seal, you take those documents to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and then the Ministry of Foreign Affairs stamp the apostille that this document is really apostille and it is Polish valid. In Estonia, it looks like that one notary can put the seal with apostille and certify your documents. So it comes to the point where one person is printing, another office is certifying that. So, you know, those are the small differences which probably in the whole budget of the projects makes huge differences.
And in terms of let's say that's an advantage that Estonia has right now, do you see other countries trying to copy that, and will they catch up?
I think it's happening, right? So, for example, I think Latvia and Lithuania have accepted the digital signature, right? At least in Latvia it's working.
Well, not.
But at least in our case, we have the agreements like signed with the digital signatures. In Latvia, at least, I've seen that.
They do accept the signature, that's true. But then if you compare, for example, Lithuania, which issued on e-residency, first of all, everything is in Lithuanian. Second, everything works on Windows, probably XP. Yeah. And the third thing is that you need to... it's nightmare.
The simple answer is that, you know, we accepted digital signature on a governmental level back in 2004, you know, and then the e-tax board was published in the year 2000. So I mean, all of the countries who are trying to catch up, I mean, good thing that they're doing. But I mean, you're competing with somebody who has done it 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah. I think Finland also, we sold the X-Road project, this actually system. They are basically using the same architecture to build up their own this Finnish system based on what was developed in Estonia. So that's, I know, and I see that other countries are definitely moving into this direction, but it's a long process, and if it's a bigger country with bigger, you know, history, it's more complicated. change everything, all those processes. It takes time.
Because it's not only technology, it's actually all the legal part behind it, the integration, the response of the citizens, and that's a lot.
I remember the story of one of the Estonian ambassadors who came here, and his first question was, okay, so where and how can I get my digital signature? And it was like a couple of years ago, and people from the embassy asked him, which one? I was like, the digital signature. Yeah, well, we have like 20 of them. Okay, so pick me the best one. But in fact, what you were gonna to do with that? I don't know, sign the documents, and yeah, but nobody does it. So that was the difference a couple of years ago here, and the situation has not changed that much.
All right, let's wrap up a little bit early. Sergei, I'll let you have the last word on the e-residency, e-Estonia.
Sure. When we talk about these things, usually like publicly like this, it's definitely not to tease anybody or to brag about it. We, being a leader in something always kind of you have to be a humble leader. then people will actually listen. And like I started my words today, in 2014, the e-residency program was developed. So basically what it means is that at some point we thought that all of these systems are functioning so well that it's going to be wrong to just keep it for ourselves. So what we did is we developed a program which will allow anybody, basically from any person in the world, to become an e-resident of Estonia. And e-residency is basically a digital ID, a government-issued digital ID, which gives an access to all of the public services that Estonia has, the e-services, right? So the e-governance. And I mean, if you don't have any specific plan on what to do with this e-residency, then there is a lot of reasons for you to become one. But one big thing, and the major thing, the major benefit of it is, as an e-resident, you can register a company remotely from any part of the world, and you don't need any auditors for that. You don't need pretty much anybody. Just in 15-30 minutes online, the next morning you wake up and you rise and shine and everything is working. And then not only register, but you can also run it remotely. So yeah, coming back to this administrative part, which is super easy. But at the same time, yeah, it's one thing to keep in mind. I know that it's a scale-up event, so there is not enough market in Estonia to scale up really highly. So just keep in mind that there are many benefits that you can get from Estonian jurisdiction, but we definitely don't possess ourselves like this is your destination, this is your beginning, I would say, if you're looking for ways to scale up. So I think we're going to be here, and just find us and talk if you have more questions.
Yeah, great.
Sure.
Thanks, Doc. Thanks, Sergei. Artur, thanks very much. I assume no questions. If there are, raise your hand. But otherwise, thank you very much. And we have lunchtime, I think, now. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.